What's going on, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video, and I'll be reacting to creepy stories by subscribers based on true events. And if I remember correctly, this is by Unit 522 or 5522. Can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I'll put a link to the video in the description so y'all can go see it. Never react to anything. I got a message from someone about maybe I should react to like maybe you should do try not to laugh, which I've done a couple of those a long time ago. Maybe you should do like these creepy. I've seen other reactors do like the animated ones or the creepy pasta or whatever. I don't think I really watched all of them. I've seen some of them. I'm subscribed to this guy, but I don't watch it regularly. I remember Mr. Nightmare from 2 years ago, some shit. Like I saw some of his videos, but I normally don't look at like, other people's content like that. Quite like this. I mean, other than people who said they're fine with reacting to it, like Death Battle or Honest Trailer, people like that, or Aldo Jones, because you never know. I don't want to get a strike, so. But look at it and we'll see how this goes. But anyway, like I said, it's creepy stories by his subscribers. So this is stuff that his subscribers have sent him. And he's done things in his creepy man voice. But anyway, without further ado, since this is like 15 minutes long, let's get into it. Alright, here we go. Five 20, okay. I think I was thinking about the unit that used to be next to me was 552nd, which is a aircraft unit or air maintainers unit.
This took place in the summer of 2017 in the small town of Alexandria Bay, New York. My parents own a small vacation house there, and we usually go down for a few weeks during summer break. It was your typical Saturday night. My parents were out partying with friends, and I was chilling out playing video games. I heard a noise from the docking area outside where my dad keeps his yacht. My initial thought was that my parents had come back early. It was around midnight, and that would have been pretty early for my parents since they usually come back around 3 in the morning. I just continued playing my game and paid no attention to the fact that someone could have been trying to steal my dad's boat. In fact,
well, we didn't have a yacht and nothing like that, but when my dad had a tendency to bring people back to our place, or women, I should say. And he'd be like, "Why don't you go, stay with your friend? How about you go stay with even friends that he know I know that he didn't like." Why don't you go stay with so and so, spend the night. So that I have to call my friend. It's like 10 o'clock and they're talking about staying the night. Till I get older and I was like, no, I'm staying home. I don't feel like doing this now. Well, yeah, I could kind of relate to this for the parent type thing. I could relate to staying out late or partying a lot like that. Anyway, let's get back.
I forgot about it entirely. Around 2 in the morning, I exited the house to have a smoke, and I saw that the doors to the yacht's main cabin were open, and there was no lights on inside. I grabbed a flashlight and boarded the yacht. I didn't turn on any lights because if there was someone on my father's yacht, I wanted the element of surprise. Now, I considered the fact that my mom and dad were doing something that I absolutely did not want to see under any circumstances. But I didn't see their car anywhere outside, so I came to the conclusion that there was someone on my dad's boat who wasn't supposed to be there. I heard footsteps down in the lower levels where the sleeping quarters were. At this point,
Okay, how old is
I'm
this? He
fired
like
up,
16
and
or
I'm ready
something?
to teach some
Like,
asshole a
it's like,
lesson about
he a
intruding
tough
on
guy.
someone else's property. I hid behind the wall that separated the cabin area from the kitchen and peered out just enough to see what was going on. Soon after, I saw the silhouette of a man emerge from the stairwell at the opposite end of the room. Now, I had turned off my flashlight, and the
Of
only
course
source
he
of light
was.
was the moonlight coming through the long window that rimmed around the cabin. Point being is that it was fairly dark, but my eyes had adjusted. I saw the shadow move in front of the long window. It was a slim figure. Now, me being 6'2",
Sound like
250
me at
pounds,
16.
built like a linebacker, I thought
It's
I would
about
be able to take this
220.
guy on easy. I came from around the
6'2".
corner and yelled, "Hey, fucker!" and lowered my shoulder. I was expecting
pulled
to
a
knock
knife.
this guy on his ass, but something strange happened. Now again, it was pretty dark, so I can only speculate. But the intruder somehow was able to jump up and grab onto
Spider-Man?
something hanging from the ceiling and avoid my charge entirely, causing me to hit the wall pretty hard. I flipped onto my back to see the intruder coming towards me with something in his hands. He was seconds away from hitting me or
Get the
possibly
fuck out
stabbing
of
me,
there.
so I had to think fast. I raised my right leg and landed a kick to the stomach. The intruder grunted and stumbled backwards, dropping whatever he was holding. As soon as I stood back up, I saw the figure dart out of the open doors. A loud splash followed shortly after. The intruder had disappeared into the water below.
Ooh,
When I turned on the lights, there was a serrated knife laying on
definitely
the
don't
floor
want to
of the
get
cabin.
stabbed with a serrated knife.
I called the police, who came out and investigated, but aside from the knife, they found no traces of the intruder anywhere. I gave my statement and filed a report. My folks came home at a record-breaking 6 a.m., and I decided that I would fill them in on what happened when they woke up. They were in no shape to process this information when they came home, if you know what I mean. Please take care to make sure that everything is locked up tight before you go to bed. You never know when some lunatic may be out looking for a place to crash or to steal something of yours. And also keep in mind
He
that
clearly
some
didn't.
don't mind confrontation.
Dude was athletic.
Before I begin this story,
No
I just
shit.
want to tell everyone to always be aware of your surroundings. Even if you think you're in a safe place, danger can just be around
Especially
the
this
corner.
this picture here in the
I live in a
park
small
like this.
town in Utah.
I'm one.
In my-
I used to do night runs. I still do it from time to time. I mean, my knee is jacked up from my time in the military, but I try to run and push through the pain. It's just like it's getting worse. But I'm just an idiot like that. But yeah, when you run, I run in places where it's pitch black, and or it's the moonlight is the only light, or it's a light like this every 30 or 40 yards or some shit, like, you know. Like, I run through parks like this, and then usually I carry a stick, or I used to have a bow staff that I had back in the day. I used to run with it like this, just run like this, just in case. And pretty much leave myself, so I just run up there and stab me in my damn stomach. But I was always confident I could just kick everybody's ass back then. I was a young teenager, but yeah, I used to do this. But when I got older, I started going to actual designated parks more so, where they had actual running path rather than some just random park where people used to just run on. It wasn't a designated running path that people just ran on. And those were more well lit, had actual security walking around, or was by a police station and shit. This back when I was in Oklahoma. But yeah, I used to go out in places like this all the time, wearing all black, and always get pulled over by the police, like almost every other time, asking me questions about what am I doing here and all this stuff, and what I'm running from. Yeah.
In my town, there's a park that is pretty well known throughout the state. It has a small creek, perfect trees to hammock in, and basketball courts. There's also a small playground with a hiking trail that sits next to it. It was late on a Friday night. I was hanging out with my friends Eli and Ben. I was a sophomore at the time, and I was pretty
Yeah, I
cocky
say
and
that.
arrogant. Basically, I thought I was invincible. We screwed around at the local Walmart for about an hour or two, before heading out to the park I mentioned earlier. We bought some water balloons before heading to the park, and planned on having a water balloon fight. When we finally got there, I started feeling sick from all the crap I had eaten earlier. I didn't have the healthiest eating habits back then. I decided to sit under a pavilion and relax for a bit. My two friends went into the park's bathroom and started to fill up their water
I
balloons,
never use park bathrooms.
leaving me by myself.
Never.
I turned my music on and almost dozed off. I sat up and refocused myself.
I've been in some when
At the
I was
same
younger.
time, my friends were just coming out of the
Yeah,
bathroom with their
I've
water
seen some weird
balloons,
shit going on.
laughing and calling each other names. When they saw me, the laughing stopped. They started whispering at me, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. Not knowing what was going on, I got up and started walking towards them. Ben then yelled, "Turn around!"
You
As I
died.
did, my heart stopped beating.
Oh,
There was a very tall man standing only a
He's
few
about to
yards
fuck you
behind
up.
me. I would say he was around 6 feet tall. He was wearing what appeared to be a black overcoat with a hood over his head, and from where he was standing, his face was concealed by darkness. Right before I started running, I saw two things in each of the man's hands. In his left hand was a carcass of a dead rabbit, and in his right was a bloody kitchen knife. The man dropped the dead rabbit and started sprinting at us. The man let out one of those haunting, insane laughs while he gave chase. I sprinted as fast as I could, with my friends a few steps ahead of me. We came under the rays of a nearby streetlight. I turned back and saw the shadow of the man who had chased us. He was at the edge of a nearby tree line,
That's
maybe
crazy.
about 150 feet away, looking at us, waving his knife, and still laughing like a
Someone
maniac.
that crazy, you'd think they'd have been
At that moment, a police car
caught
sped
doing
past
some
us,
stupid shit.
probably going 60 on our 25. He was shining a spotlight into the park. As soon as the light hit the tree line, the man disappeared. Later, my friends explained to me that the man was hiding behind a tree, watching me while I was listening to music. He started
Good thing
moving
they came
towards
out the
me,
bathroom.
and that's when they started calling to me. A couple of weeks later, there were reports of people being attacked and stabbed on that trail. I'm grateful that I never ended up in those news articles or an autopsy report. I truly believe that if my friends weren't there to
He
help
came
me,
up behind you,
I
stabbed
wouldn't
you
even
in
be
the
able to
damn
tell my
chest.
story. I've never returned to that park at night, nor will I ever. Please always be aware of your surroundings.
They used to give me
You never
motivation
know
to
who
run
might be
through the
lurking
park,
in the darkness.
and I'd just be sprinting, like just. It's like, unless you were in front of me, like.
This
you
story
weren't
takes
catching me,
place
or
during
unless you
Thanksgiving
fast.
break, when I was in the 5th grade. My old elementary school had a termite
I like that
problem,
he's doing all these in
and
different
the school
voices.
board
all these-
decided to move the school to the local
different
YMCA. We were told that the infestation was more severe than they thought, and it would take about a year and a half to deal with. When the school was under construction, me and my brother Jack decided to go and check things out. This school never had any rumors about being haunted or anything like that, so we weren't really expecting anything to happen. We walk around looking at all the demolished walls and piles of old wood and glass. We weren't the only ones who had this bright idea, because we saw inappropriate content, either drawn or written on some of the classroom chalkboards. Jack and I just about had our fill of this place, and we decided to check out one more classroom before leaving. The chalkboard in that room had a message written on it. Look under the sink. So my brother, being the stupid person that he is, goes to the sink and opens it up. There was nothing there, but as soon as he stood up, we heard a loud crash. We both looked to the far end of the classroom. There was a man in a white phantom mask.
Just waiting there for somebody.
I recognized it from the play my school did of Phantom of the Opera. The man proceeded to walk along the row of classroom windows and shattered each of them with a crowbar. Jack and I rushed out of the room and down the long hallway to the exit. While running, we both remembered hearing loud footsteps behind us. I also remember hearing someone yelling, but it could have just been my mind playing tricks on me due to the state of panic I was in. When we got back to our house, we didn't say a word about this to anyone, because we didn't want to get into trouble being in that school after hours while it was still under construction. When the school was finally operational again, we didn't hear anything about shattered windows or a masked man with a crowbar. Seeing how we clearly weren't the only ones who decided to trespass, I imagined that there was a few instances of vandalism that the construction crew had to deal with. I know that kids, especially at this age, can have wild imaginations, but encountering real danger is something you'll never forget. I don't know if the Phantom was trying to scare us or wanted to bash our heads in, but my brother and I weren't sticking around to find out.
I did not expect that to be that quick.
I'm a female, and this happened during the spring break of 2011. At the time, I lived in New Jersey, and I would often drive out to the Pine Barrens on Saturdays and jog along a trail that a friend of mine showed me. I don't mean to be vague, but for the life of me I can't remember the name of this trail. But I do remember that it was located in South Jersey, and from what I understand there's lots of trails that run through that area. During this time, I was going through some health problems, and I was really focused on losing weight. During my jogs, I would often listen to my headphones. I had a playlist on my iPod that would help me get motivated. After parking my car, I set off on foot. I usually saw one or two other backpackers or joggers traversing the trail, but today, there was no one. About 30 minutes after I started, I got this feeling that I was being watched.
You never
I
brush
tried
it
my
off.
best to brush it off as I continued down the path. This feeling became more and more prevalent. It felt like the forest itself was closing in on me. It got to the
Fuck
point
that.
where I stopped
I
jogging,
start
took
sprinting.
out my headphones and listened carefully. I heard several frantic footsteps coming from behind the surrounding trees. At this point, I was becoming a bit unnerved, but I figured that it could be some kids just messing around. I called out, asking if anyone was there, but got no response. I should mention that on this particular trail, about a half a mile from its starting point, your cell phone was all but useless. After a minute or two of just standing there, I decided that it was time to cut this jog short. As soon as I turned around, I heard a rustling sound from behind me. I turned, and what I saw utterly
I
horrified
thought you
me.
was that naked man.
A masked man wearing a pair of boxers emerged from a bush that was alongside the trail. I know that may sound comical to some of you, but I assure you it was not. The mask this person was wearing is kind of hard to describe. It
Saul?
looked like an animal head of some kind, and just sort of hung off this guy's head, like it was several sizes too big for him. The most disturbing part of all was this half-naked maniac was covered in what looked like blood. It was like it was involuntarily thrusted into the plot of a horror movie. I took off running down the trail. As I did,
More
I
than
heard
one of
laughter
them.
and shouting coming from several directions behind me. I thankfully found my way
You
back
about to
to
have
the
a
car in one
deliverance moment.
piece. I drove out of there like a bat out of hell. I pulled over at the nearest gas station and immediately called the police. It took them
It's
almost an
your
hour
fault
and
for
a
being
half to
so
get
far
out
away.
there, and he informed me that he would call in more cops and comb the area. He told me that someone from his department would eventually follow
they
up
actually
with me.
did.
The next morning, I got a phone call from the police. They, of course, didn't find anyone matching the description I gave. However, they did find the skinned carcass of a deer not far from where I had encountered the man. I don't have confirmation on this, but thinking back to how strange that mask looked, I have to ask a question.
Was that man a
Was that man wearing
psychopath?
fresh deer skin?
Yes. Uncle
Hey
Unit.
folks, it's your Uncle Unit, and I hope you enjoyed the
Okay,
video.
somebody
A
else.
big
I was
thank
like,
you to
he
my friend
changed his voice
Vitis22
like
for
that?
joining me in this episode of Based on True Events. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. And if you would like your story to be featured in this series, type it up and send it over to
Maybe I'll type up
unit522stories
some
at
shit that
outlook.com.
I've experienced.
I hope to hear from you soon.
But
And as always, never forget. There's always a reason to be afraid.
Hey, it's a Doom inspired. Like, art. I've heard this somewhere before. Maybe I've seen some of his, because I'm subscribed to his channel, so maybe I've seen one of his videos before. I just don't remember. Well, that was spooky. And it's nighttime. But yeah, I used to do that shit, like run in the woods. More so, well, more so not in necessarily the woods, on like wooded paths, I should say. Like it was a designated path, but it was in a wooded area. I ran like that, and at night in places, heard rustling, especially down. I used to live down south, and you just assume I was a deer or something like that. You just keep, like I said, I had all the motivation to pretty much sprint or very fast run, not necessarily a sprint, but like a run, and I would just be hauling ass through places like that. Like it wouldn't even like. Every so often I might glance back, but just be like, just. And then when I get to like a light, then I just end up having to stop and like be gasping for air, because I just sprinted like a mile almost. Oh man, that was when I was in shape back in the day. Oh man, but yeah, this. You gotta be, like you said, you gotta be like, I would never listen to music like that with my back to woods. Like, I don't like listening to music like with my back to just an open door in a crowded restaurant or some shit like that. I mean, whatever, like, I would never do that. Like, it just, because you never know what might happen anywhere at any time. And I'd be looking at everybody. People like, oh, yeah, I don't worry about, you be a man, I don't worry about any man, shit. I don't worry about women, it's like, shit. I worry about anybody that I don't know that walk my way. I'm like, I don't know this person, I don't know what they capable of. I'm keeping an eye on. Shit. Be like, I don't gotta worry about it. I'm a man. I take care of myself, yeah. You take care of yourself, somebody whoop your ass. And then you'd be like, maybe I should rethink things. Ass whooping make you reevaluate yourself. But anyway, thanks for reacting. Thanks for you guys for reacting. Reacting to my reaction. Thanks for you guys for watching my reaction. If you made it this far, remember to like, subscribe, and share, and comment. Maybe any recommendations or whatever, or maybe you hate the sound of my voice, like someone said. I was like, I can't help my voice. I mean, there's some people's voices I hate. Like, hey, you hate the sound of my voice, like, sorry, I can't change that. That's just how it is. But anyway, like I said, like, subscribe, and share, comment, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.